Unscripted.
You know, I think it goes without saying that Sony's big advantage is the games themselves, and no more is that more apparent than when you actually go down the list. I think every time that Microsoft actually advertises the Xbox Series X or Xbox Series S, and they're like, play 30 games, I think that actually makes them look a little bit worse, simply because, you know, of what they're actually bringing to the table. If anybody with any kind of common sense or common knowledge actually looks at any of these games, you'll see that most are dreadful games, and most of them are games that, quite honestly, are old games, right? Like, I get it, you know, we're in this day and age where old is new again or what have you, but never in my life as a gamer have I seen mediocrity celebrated or old games celebrated as much as Microsoft is trying to do, and as much as their fanboys are trying to do with this next generation. I mean, we just have to face the facts, and it's like when you bring it up, even when IGN brings this up, people act like, you know, it's a bad thing to talk about, or it's a you know, it's like saying Lord Voldemort's name. You shouldn't say it, right? Like, I mean, come on. At what point do we have to actually realize that Microsoft really poorly planned this? You can be a fan of Xbox, but still understand and admit that they really planned this extremely poorly. And not only did they plan it poorly, but, you know, they're sort of putting out there that, you know, that gamers themselves should be okay with that for some reason, and I'm not okay with that. So I'm really interested to see how this video goes. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out the channel, and it means a lot to me personally. You know, if you guys really are looking for a way to support a small fledgling channel like myself, a simple like goes an extremely long way. You know, you can also share it out. You can hit the bell so you're notified of all the content as soon as it drops, and very much so you can go ahead and you know, do that, any of those things, and it's all free, by the way, so, and it really helps me out. So with that being said, let's get started, shall we? I mean, this is what it's all about. Let's just be honest. The games are what it's all about, and not only are the games what it's all about, but I feel like some people kind of lose that in the whole argument when we start talking about hardware and things like that. Now, IGN, I know a lot of people just assume that they're huge, they hate PlayStation and all this stuff, but this is their own Xbox podcast, which in my experience has been very much a very, you know, a very much pro Xbox type of thing, right? Even when they were sort of damage controlling early on, the fact that, you know, Xbox games weren't looking that great, and they cross-gen, they kept saying stuff like cross-gen doesn't matter and it's not going to hold anything back, before really coming to terms after seeing that Halo gameplay that, yes, like Ryan McCaffrey and company did finally admit that that was like drinking some Phil Spencer Kool-Aid, and believing that, you know, the cross-gen stuff wouldn't be held back. Of course it was going to be held back. So now they did another podcast, and of course Xbox fanboys are crying foul, saying it's media bias, they hate Xbox. Like, which one is it? You know, this week they hate Xbox, last week they loved Xbox. What is it? Could it just be that they're being honest? I mean, I feel like that's probably the easiest and simplest answer, is the fact that they're being honest about Xbox. They said there's quite literally no games in this lineup you need an Xbox Series X for. Major titles that got updates were made for last gen. What are they going to do with this thing? How are they going to show it off? What games are they going to be able to actually showcase, and that kind of stuff? So again, talking about the launch lineup, and also a discussion, it's actually a fairly good podcast about the discussion about the best Xbox launch lineups in history, and I do feel like that's something that, you know, will have to be covered at some point, is people are so afraid to compare the things. But when you compare the Xbox launch lineup right now that's coming in November to the Xbox One lineup, it's head and shoulders in favor of the Xbox One. When you compare it to the Xbox 360, it's head and shoulders in favor of the Xbox 360. When you compare it to the original Xbox, it's head and shoulders the Xbox, right? Like, what was Microsoft doing? I get that they're making strides and they're buying studios and it takes time and wait. I get it. Trust me, I do. But at what point do we go, okay, you started playing in these consoles 4 to 5 years ago. Now, you know what? You don't have any content for your... And I get Halo was delayed, but you didn't have anything outside of Halo to bring to the table, and I feel like that was a huge mistake. Why wouldn't they have other things planned? Look, Microsoft and Sony both have admitted that these consoles that are coming for next gen have taken, the long road, 4 to 5 years to create. Now, with that being said, you at some point have to sit in a room and discuss the software that you're going to use to showcase your console, right? I would hope so. But where is that at? Where is that sort of desperation? I don't know, maybe not even desperation, that could be the wrong word for it, but where is that sense of, longing, that sense of let's get, something out here that really sort of showcases what we're doing? I just feel like they really need something out there that does that, and they failed to do it. And then when anybody brings it up, it's like this secret that nobody says. You aren't allowed to say that. You can't say that that they need games, because that's like then you're Xbox hater all of a sudden. And it's like, I get it. Once Xbox does start getting some games and start rolling in a few years, they're going to be in a very good place, and I'm fully admitting that. I fully think that they're going to be in a great place by 2023, 2024. But the problem is they're really not in a great place right now in 2020, going into 2021, and maybe even into 2022, because there's no games that they have actually scheduled from their first party to come out in all that time. And this really just bodes well, again, for PlayStation and what PlayStation is doing, because you know what? Even though PlayStation might have confused some people with the aspect of, hey, we're going to be showcasing, exclusive games, and we believe in generations, and they said all this kind of stuff or whatever, right? At the same time, they were a little bit misleading or weren't completely upfront with what that meant. And so obviously you have Sackboy, which I don't really think that matters, that particular game is is cross-gen, because I just think that it's a platformer. But when it comes to Spider-Man Miles Morales, I do feel like that game is probably held back, and certainly Horizon Forbidden West is going to be held back because it's cross-gen. At the same time, even cross-gen games would be better than no games, right? I mean, I think we can all be in agreement of this, and this makes Sony look like they have the greatest lineup in the history of lineups. Having an offering with stuff like Godfall, obviously with stuff like Destruction All-Stars and Sackboy and Astrobot and Miles Morales, and there's even the third-party stuff is a little bit lackluster compared to what we've gotten in previous generations and stuff. So I do feel like I can sympathize a little bit with that, but at the same time, it's like, people buy these things based on the games, and the identity of the Xbox right now, I think, is in flux. Like, what is it? Is it an app? Is it a console? Is it an ecosystem? Like, what exactly is Xbox, like, at this particular juncture? Like, I think that's something that maybe Microsoft doesn't even know, and I feel like they've got these, like, trained fanboys that just literally are perfectly fine with whatever they say or do, and I think that's incredibly unfortunate, to say the least, because at the end of the day, Microsoft has a lot of stuff going for them, but they also have some things that they need to work on, and it seems like people really cover for them at a large kind of way, in my opinion, right? Like, they'll make excuses for them. Like, for me personally, when it comes to my channel or whatever, I don't have the largest channel. My channel's never gotten huge views, right? But people, assume, or they go, oh, well, you only switched to PlayStation for views, and like, that to me is indicative of the problem that we see with Xbox. People would rather think that somebody could never, ever legitimately be upset with Xbox for any reason whatsoever. It has to be their own ulterior motives, right? And that in and of itself is a big problem sort of going forward. They have this sort of excuse wall kind of built in between, like, YouTubers and things like that. Everybody's sort of just giving them a free pass to do whatever they want, and I feel like that's a huge mistake going forward, and hopefully people can kind of understand where I'm coming from. That it's not a knock on anybody or anything in particular, it's just the truth. Like, people just literally make excuse after excuse after excuse for Xbox, for the lack of games. They just tell you to wait, and Phil Spencer's great, and at the end of the day, I just don't think that works really well for the average person. I know it doesn't really work well for me see. You know, if does it work well for you? I couldn't say or not, but for me personally, I find it to be slightly ridiculous. And you know, I hope that at the end of the day that Microsoft sort of comes back and does something better for everybody. Like, it honestly, I've never seen such a dire lineup in my life. And even for 2021, people just assume that there's going to be these games coming out, and I keep trying to like tell people there's nothing. They've literally confirmed nothing for 2021 aside from saying Halo is delayed into 2021, but that could be late 2021, and it might even get pushed into the year after. So you're looking at, you know, going from Gears 5 in September of 2019 all the way till possibly 2022 for Halo. Now, hopefully Halo can get out at 2021, but we don't know yet. You know, we don't really know yet, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think there's media bias, or do you guys think that this is, you know, wrong? Do you guys think that, you know, people are just kind of taking this the wrong way, or running with it to sort of create an underdog scenario for Xbox? Because I also feel like that's a bit of a thing too. So it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff works out long term. But I will link this in the description so you guys can all check it out and let me know. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe, happy, and healthy. Have a fantastic night. Rack 'em up. Game on, my friends. Game on. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.